Did you say me?
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Testing.
Raise your hand, and we'll try to work out situation. I have a little reverb, but I think that's, as long as I don't listen to myself, I'm going to be okay. Great.
Sorry, could we do one more, just a check on the audio? Trudy, can you say something, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Great.
Alden?
Yeah, hi Joe, it's Alden.
Great. And Janet, you're with us?
Yes,
And Patricia?
I'm with you.
And Patricia, just acknowledge you can hear us, so we're good.
All set,
Great,
thanks.
thank you, thank you. So let's get started. I'd like to welcome everybody to the October 4th meeting of the Community Preservation Committee in the town of Wenham, and we're going to open the meeting at 8:33. I
About
then need-
6:33.
Oh, 6:33, yeah, I guess I'm halfway across the Atlantic. Thank you for the correction. I then need to open the public hearing, so let me read the announcement of the public hearing. Notice of a public hearing, the Wenham Community Preservation Committee will conduct a public hearing in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, Section 5B1, at 6:30 p.m. now, Wednesday, October 4th, for the purpose of a public informational hearing on the needs, possibilities, and resources of the town regarding community preservation, possibilities, and resources. This hearing will be held both in person at Town Hall, first floor, 138 Main Street, or virtually via Zoom, at which time all interested persons may appear and be heard in relation thereto. I think that opens the meeting. Great. I'm going to put up, maybe Joe, you could share your screen.
Sure. And do you want to do any public comment? If there's...
So is there any public comment before we get going? This will be really, I hope, pretty open-ended. There aren't a lot of potential grantees on the call, so please feel free to raise your hand or speak up, and you'll be recognized, and please make your comments. And just to make sure we know everybody, it is being recorded.
Rick, can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have the ability to see who is calling in as we are doing, who is on Zoom?
I can see the participant list here. Do you see it over on the bottom screen there, Janet, under participant? There should be a 6 next to that. I think if you click on
Oh,
that,
I do see that, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so we're not going to see those, that's only showing us on the committee, is that correct?
And that's all who is logged in right now.
Right, it will show any other person that logged in, but right now it's just the committee members, myself, and HW Cam.
Okay, I just wanted to double check that I had that right. So if someone from the public that was interested in applying logged in, we would see their face on Zoom if they are on Zoom.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, Janet, thank you for asking that.
Pull up the presentation, Rick.
Great, thank you. We're going to share the presentation screen. And
Okay, let's see.
best laid plans. There we go. I want to welcome everybody to the call, and for those that are going to watch this on HW Cam or later on the recording, thank you for being here, and thank you for your interest in the Town of Wenham CPC process. I'm going to hold on 1 minute till we get the technical things resolved.
There we go.
And if you could check a waiting list or see, make sure that nobody is waiting.
Yep, there's no
great,
one waiting.
Great. So I want to take time. Thank you for all being here. Welcome again. I just want to go a little bit of an overview of the process, and then we'll get into the categories and the timelines and how we plan to proceed all the way to town meeting in April. The process starts with what I call a pre-qualification, where you'll fill out a small form. We'll show an example of it in a minute, where you just tell us your intentions, how much you'd like to spend, what do you think you'd like to use for, just so we can make sure that it fits into one of the buckets of the grants available. Joe, next slide, and we could put up the graphic, please.
Yes.
If you click on the link, you should just get it, right?
Yeah.
I think I want to show the chart.
Oh, yep. Okay. Let's see here.
There we go. So this is from a state form that shows you the different categories that we could apply for, or you could apply for if you're a grantee. And
Rick, we're not seeing that link.
okay,
Let's see here.
We see the link, but not when you clicked on it, we're not seeing what it's supposed to say.
is the right screen
Right.
being shared?
Yeah, I might have to stop sharing and then reshare it over here. Let's see. Okay. Can you see it now?
Perfect,
Yes.
thank you.
Woohoo, we're getting there. All this technology, it's not going to ruin our party, though. There are four available categories: open space, historic resources, recreational land, and community housing. And those are the buckets that your application needs to fit into. And then if you follow down the left-hand side, those are the different steps or projects within those categories that would qualify for a CPC grant. I hope that you will could download this if you need to. It's also on our website following that link. Next screen, please. Here's our schedule. The committee voted the schedule in our last meeting. We're going to try to stick with this, but of course, as you see at the bottom, dates subject to change, particularly since the town meeting date has not been finally authorized by the select board meeting, but this is traditionally the date it held on, the first Saturday in April. They just need to coordinate that. So I kind of like to work back. So on February 13th, our goal is to have all the final award recommendations made to the select board and sent for legal review. Then before that, those next few dates are going to be the discussion periods, the 27th and February 6th, if needed, where we'll be talking about your proposals and seeing which ones best fit what the town is looking for and fits the best needs of the community. On January 9th, your final application is due by close of business, and that needs to be received electronically and a hard copy submitted to the town administrator's office. and, excuse me, on February 28th, your preliminary application. So on tonight's our kickoff meeting. On the 15th, you need to turn in your initial qualification letter, I guess if we're going to call it. I don't think I have an official word, pre-qualification form. And then by the 28th, you'll be notified, yes or no, that your preliminary application fits one of the buckets and can move forward for discussion. So in that period, though, between today and the 28th, if you have any questions or concerns, or you want to talk about it some more, please feel free to reach out to any of the CPC members or myself and have a discussion to make sure that we can get it to fit into one of the buckets. And tonight we're back.
Question, January 27th, in-person presentations, that is a Saturday.
Oh, see? Subject to change if needed. We'll just correct that date. I think it will probably be late in that week before Saturday.
So you'll let us know about that?
Yep, we'll update that, and we'll update the schedule and send it around to the committee.
Okay.
Great. Next slide, please. For those who are applying, here's where you can find, hopefully, everything you'll need to fill out an application. So just follow the pre-qualification form, the actual application. If your application is successful, that means the town has approved your request at town meeting on April 6th. You'll then be asked to enter into a grant agreement with the town of Wenham. Those forms are there available. So you need to have them reviewed by your people before you submit. Please do. We have had the forms that are up on the website reviewed by our legal staff to make sure they are still current. Yes. Right. So we believe they're all still current. For more details, that's our webpage. And if you have any questions, or you're looking for more information, or you're saying, does my idea fit? What have other people done? Please check out the Community Preservation website. They're an organization that helps CPCs across the state better understand and utilize the process, and they definitely will help grantees as well. Next slide, please. I just want to make sure for the public that they know who's who and who's where, and if you think one of your things hits one of those, like Conservation Commission or Joint Recreation or Housing Authority, please, you might want to team up with them and ask those committee members what they think about their idea, and maybe they can help you shape it and make it more town-wide. And we have 2 seats that are open. At-large seat, I think the requests have closed for that on the 4th or the 1st.
Yep. Correct.
And the Historic District Commission needs to meet next week and vote on their vacant seat. Just for those who are maybe tuning in and don't know what the CPC is, the CPC is a committee of committees. Right? There are some at-large members like myself, like Janet, and Patricia and Alden, but there are also, by state statute, specific organizations that need a seat at the table. And we're going to be reviewing that too, I think, in the upcoming term, to see that we're making sure that we're still on track for that, to make sure we're fulfilling any statutory requirements. Yeah, great. That's who you can contact.
I have a question.
There we go. Yes.
I'm sorry, can you go back to the last slide?
Yeah.
Sorry.
The time?
The seats.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I don't know if this is the place to ask, but I'm just confused. It's my understanding that Patricia filled Harriet Davis' seat. Is that correct?
She filled an at-large seat. I don't know that I go one for one on who's been replaced with whom.
Okay.
So I don't think that's specifically required. I would say that if anything, the vacant seat is the seat that Ms. Davis last held.
So before Patricia joined, did we have a vacant seat? Because I
did.
thought everything was filled
No,
up
we
until.
had another vacant seat.
Correct. Yep.
And then Harriet left, Harriet passed, which created another vacant seat. Patricia filled the initial vacant seat, and now there is still one more at large, right?
Okay, I
Thank you.
guess I was, okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Mm-hmm. Great. Are there any questions? Anybody dialed in? Nope, I don't see that. Anybody here in the auditorium? We're good. With that, I think we filled our statutory obligation to the state to have a public hearing, and I'd like to make a motion, to have a motion made that we close the public hearing at 6:45 PM.
I move.
I move we close the public hearing.
Would one of you like to second that?
Second.
Okay, great. So
Thank
the
you,
motion
Alden.
was made by Janet Burt to close the meeting at 6:45. It was seconded by Alden Drake, and since we are on Zoom, we need to do a roll call vote. Ms. Reed?
You think you're muted, Trudy?
Trudy, I think you're muted.
Yes.
Yes? Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Ms. Burt?
Janet Burt, yes.
Ms. Gruitz?
Yes.
And Mr. Cosolito?
Yes.
And Woodland is yes.
THR just entered as well.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
The public hearing for the 2024-25 season of the Community Preservation Committee has concluded. Thank you. We will now continue with our regular staff meeting, committee meeting. I don't have an agenda. Can somebody pull that up for me or hand me a copy? Oh, sorry. I did. I was a bad manager here. Great. We do have a set of minutes to review. If everybody, we're going to put them up on the screen in as large type as possible. I don't know that you
Rick?
received a copy. Do you have another copy for me?
Rick, I have a question, a comment.
Yes, please.
We normally get these in advance of tonight's meeting, so I'm wondering if we need to hold off on the approval of these minutes to give everybody a chance to review them. The September 21st minutes I did hastily last night, thinking that we'd get the packet this morning so everybody would have a chance to review. So I feel like we're going to rush through these and not capture everything. So I would
Someone like to
suggest we
make a
hold off
motion
till our
that we
next
move
meeting.
these off? Would someone like to make a motion that we table this to our next meeting?
I move that we table it to our next meeting to give us an opportunity to look through it.
You got it. Can someone second that, please?
Yes, second.
Thank you, Alden. All in favor, roll call. Trudy?
Yes.
Alden?
Yes.
Janet?
Janet Burt, yes.
Tricia?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Rick? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll continue at our next meeting. I just wanted to have a small general discussion about forms and documentation. We did have all the official documents, contracts reviewed, but I'd like to make sure that we get on your radar that for our next meeting, that we look at anything on the website that you think is not accurate anymore, should be updated. Not that you have to do it, but just that we have to get this idea on a list so we can start working on these things. Particularly on the actual formal application for, for the grant, just to make sure we're there. So if we could do that for our next meeting, that would be great. I just want to say my whole priority for this year is just to get us on the rails, right? To make sure that we have a process down, that we're working effectively as a team, that we have our documents and links to other outside organizations all set so that we feel like we're being as transparent and as open to the public as possible, requesting projects that are in best in the town interest.
So I have a question. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that in the past that what one needed to do was itemized for them to do. Is that not the case? Do you feel like we need to change that? We need to alter it? We need to improve it? Is that what you're saying, Rick?
I just want to make sure we all look at it and make sure it's still current, still the right way to go. It's a good time to review your forms every year or two. I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't see anything wrong with what's there now. I just want to make sure that we're in a constant state of updating and reviewing our.
So I would move that we determine sometime whenever you decide as the chair, that we all take a look at that and we decide whether or not we want to make changes or that it's fine. And is this also related to perhaps our meeting we're going to have with Stuart? With Stuart, we'll look at that and say, okay, you're doing a good job. This is great. I guess what I'm saying is I don't want to reinvent the wheel.
Nope.
If Stuart feels like what we have in print is what we should have, that's a good thing, but if he feels like we need to take a look at it for some reasons, then we should do that.
I think I want to make sure that we are happy with it first before approaching Stuart, and then we can get his input as well. Because it really needs to be tailored to our town with his input. So if we could just take review for our next meeting, which Stuart will be at, the 24th, I think,
Yes.
of October. If we can shoot for that as a general review of these documents, or, go ahead, Alden.
No, I'm just adding it to my calendar.
Great.
October 24th, we are meeting, that's what you're saying?
Yes, and if there are things in there on our website that aren't there that you think should be there, this would be a great time to start getting that in the queue. It might not be instant, it might not be in the next 6 months, but at least we know we have a list of things that we want to improve. All
right, so October 24th, that was not on the calendar list, I don't think, unless I did it wrong. We showed on the slide a little bit ago. So October 24th, we're going to get together and
Correct.
talk about making sure we have everything the way we like it.
Yes, and that meeting is not part of the process, right? So the dates that you have are for the process of applying for a grant, not what
Right.
we'll be working on as a team as well.
Okay, so a team meeting will be October 24th, and that's when we will give input as to what we feel about
Yes,
what's there and whether or not we need to change it.
Correct.
So will what's there be sent out to us? Are we going to look for it ourselves? How's that going to work out?
I think you'll need to look for it yourself, because I think you should be able to click and print. The website may not be pretty, but it is stable. The best way would be to review it at your own leisure. If people feel like they'd like to have it printed out, we can do that. I just don't want to waste the paper. If we don't.
No, I don't think it needs to be printed out, but
Do you need more
sorry,
direction?
this is
Jen?
just me because I've met with Stuart a couple of times. I feel like if we're going to think about whether or not our procedure is the best it can be, that it would be good to have Stuart give input to that because he knows the best all over the state.
I agree. I just want to make sure that we have our input first before we listen to Stuart. And then we'll listen to Stuart and we'll put all those things together and wrap it up. Thank you.
So does anyone else have a thought about this, or am I the only one that thinks Stuart should help us with this input?
I'm comfortable with the way Rick has described it.
I'm fine with that, as long as everyone else is okay with it. I think think it's important to look at, though. I do think we just need to remember Stuart can give us the bigger perspective, that's all, Alden.
Yes,
Right.
he will. He will. And we're working on that with him. Great. The last, before we get to open session, open comment, if anybody was working on any special projects they'd like to report in on, that would be great. Speak up now. If not, we'll just extend that. It'll always be there, because I know from time to time people will be working on different things.
Rick, I have something.
Great, thank you.
Just give me a minute to find it again. So several months ago, I had offered to compare what we have done against the state's CPC website, and I thought I had all that information put together, and apparently we found a few mistakes, so I need to go back through and review the town meeting warrants. But what I did want to share tonight was just a quick overview of what we have done since Wenham voted on CPC back in May of 2005. We voted a surcharge at that time of 3%, which we still have, and we have funded 60 projects since 2005. 5 of those are open space, 32 are historic, 7 were housing, and 16 recreation. So I think that's, for the years that we've been doing that 60 is a good number. We could do better, but I just sort of wanted to give a brief update on that part of my project. Thank you.
Wonderful.
That's great. Thank you, Trudy. Thank you for keeping in there. I know from other people's experience, going through town records can be a little tedious. So thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Is it possible to have just those numbers sent through email to the committee? I just would like to sit with that a little bit.
I can retype those, Trudy, and send them out. Is that okay? Or you can, whichever you want to do.
Well, I can just send the page that I had sent to you. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, for some
Thank you.
reason it came over on my screen and it was gibberish, so I don't know what I did wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, it should be just an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, it didn't like it in my screen, but it's probably.
Okay, I'll try again.
Thank you.
I'll try it to all of you. Thank you.
Okay, since we're running early tonight, I want to make it early because it was initially just for this public hearing that we're here. Are there any topics people would like to discuss, to get on the calendar, to have us while we're here talk a little bit about them?
Rick, I just have a question for Joe, if he's able to help us. Do you happen to know how many candidates there are for the open at-large seat? And do you happen to know what the select board's timeframe is to review and appoint?
Can I speak to that, Mr. Chairman?
Please, please.
Yep, so we currently have, there's the two vacancies, there's one at-large vacancy and one HTC liaison vacancy. The HTC has one applicant, and they are due to meet next Tuesday, October 10th at 5 p.m. And currently on the agenda, there is a vote that is due to potentially, most likely, take place. Assuming that happens, and also the same night, the select board, I don't know if Michelle has posted the agenda yet, but they are due to consider the at-large vacancy that night as well. And my understanding is currently there's one application for that as well.
Thank you, Joe.
No problem.
Right, so my input is that there are just a couple other things besides getting us on rails that are all moving in the same direction. There are a couple other things I'd like to work on. One of them is Trudy's project, is identifying what we've been working on over the past 6 years. I think that's great. Another one is I've been looking at other people's CPA agreements, grantor agreements, and many of them have clauses in it where they specify signage for the project, both during construction and after the project is complete. So I'd like to put in your heads, not for maybe next month, but just in general, to think about, should we start looking at some kind of signage that keeps in the people's frontal memory that this project, this field, this open space was in part helped by blah, blah, blah. The other thing that I'm working on, and I'm waiting for a review from the town administrator, is I'd like to change the review process before town meeting a little bit. Stuart, who I've been taking advice from as well, says a best practice is to conditionally present your approvals, your approvals to the select board. I'm going to share the date if you go back to our dates. Can you pull up our dates again, Joe?
Yeah, sure.
That on February 13th, where we say final award recommendations made and sent for legal review, so that made to the select board and sent for legal review, that we're going to ask them, that will be a conditional recommendation. And then after they're reviewed and finalized by council and select board, we will then we will receive them back and make a final approval based on the language that makes it through legal, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Can we go back to the screen so I can see everybody?
Yep.
Just so that we're all on the same page, that the intent of the people through the CPC is the intent that actually gets presented at town meeting on April 6th. Just a little safeguard Stuart thinks is a best practice, and I'd like to try to implement here, so I'm working with town administrator and select board to make that happen. Do you have any comments on that? Okay, great. So that's what I'm working on. So now you know what my focuses are for the season. I want to hear what your foci will be, and so we can have a really effective and meaningful season. Thank you. General questions, comments?
Yeah, just a comment, Rick. Thank you. This has been very well organized, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you for your feedback, too. Thank you.
Rick, I think that last point that you just talked about is a good one. It's a good safeguard to have another review after we send along the proposals and get input from legal.
Great, great. And if we need to, we'll make a motion and talk about ourselves here, and if we need to create an actual recommendation from our group. I'm going through informal channels right now, but if we have to, we can make it a formal request and push it through. Great. Thank you.
Joe, would you mind just one more time putting those dates up? I was just double checking on my phone, sorry, to make sure that I have them
No,
all.
I don't mind at all. 1 second, please.
So I know I probably have them in another format.
No, you probably
Joe,
don't,
is it
but
possible to send this presentation to all of us, please?
we will.
13th, final on April 6th. Thank you,
Okay,
Joe, I'm all
Currently
set.
on the,
That's great.
on the website as
It is
well.
posted on the
Appreciate
website,
it.
Joe. Yes, it is on the.
Oh, is it on the website?
Yes,
Because
it
I'm going to
is.
use some of this for my minutes, so I'll look on the website.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
can download it right from there. Thank you.
You know what's really scary? We're talking about April 6th as a town meeting. We haven't even gone to the change in time yet.
Yes, we're going to be ahead this year. That's my goal.
We are.
We're going to have fun, and we're going to make this fun, okay? Great, thank you, everyone. Other comments? Hearing none,
No, thank you. This was great.
I'd take a motion to adjourn, please.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:01.
I would second that.
Okay, roll call vote. Trudy?
Yes?
Janet?
Yes.
Alden?
Yes.
Patricia?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Rick, yes. Thank you,